So this video is part 2 of building a better PowerPoint presentation. In this video, we're going to look at breaking apart a huge amount of text and illustrating it in a more visually engaging manner that's easier for the audience to absorb. We've got a lot of text on this slide. Okay, it's very difficult for the reader to take all that information in. So what we want to do is we really want to abbreviate this information down. So if we have a look at the final example for this one, what I did is I summarized the text and abbreviated down, and then I chose some icons to meet with each of those concepts to try and illustrate that in a visual way. So I'm going to show you how I went about creating that. So again, I want to have a blank slide. For this slide, I'm just going to remove the background text. So the title for this slide is Why Blend. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to insert a piece of smart art, and that's going to enable me to add the images to the text. So if you click on the Insert menu, over here there's an option here called Smart Art. And when you click on that, you'll see there's a whole range of different options. Okay, and this is one of the more powerful features of PowerPoint. You can see here you've got list, process, cycle, hierarchy, relationship. There's really a lot of different options there. The one that I'm going to be looking through is picture, because I know that I want to include pictures. So I'll have a look through the list. Okay, so the bottom left hand corner here, you've got vertical picture accent list, and that's the one I'm going to use. And by default, it's gone pink. So I'm not really happy with that color, but it's very easy to change it. If I click up here where I've got change colors, what PowerPoint actually does is it automatically comes up with a range of different color schemes. So I can go through that list and choose one that I think that's going to work. So in this case, I might go on with just got some blue accents, because that's the color that I really like. You need to make sure you drag from the drag handles. Okay, and my first point here, I'm going to go back, have a look what my first point was. So my first point was, it's talking about why would you blend? It synthesizes a number of different approaches. So there's lots of different ways you can go about doing this. I'm just going to cut and paste that information straight in. Okay, so I can see it's a little bit difficult to read. So I need to work out about what this is really trying to say. So the main point that this is talking about is that high impact engaging learning. So that's what I want to focus on. So I can delete the previous text. One of the best places to go is to flaticon.com. This website enables you to download royalty-free icons for a range of different purposes. You can click on categories. With this particular example, I was looking through the education section, so I can click on education. So for example, I decide that I like this picture. You can see there's a range of different options. There's PNG file, SVG file, basics 4, PSD, and add to collection. So you can actually create a list of icons if you want to come back to this site in the future. The PNG is most likely what you would need to be using. And then it provides some options here for how big you want that image to be. I would probably encourage you to go for a higher resolution. Even though in this particular situation it's not going to be very big on the screen, you can always adjust it later. But if it's too small, then you've already arranged for a loss of quality. So I can just save that image, put that straight into my pictures folder. So basically what you do is you click on the image, you choose a picture, so you can see some of the images that I've used previously, and I can add the image. And you can actually quickly go through and add other images. Okay, and continue summarizing your points. So after following that process, this was eventually where I ended up. So I've summarized all those points down. So for each point, I've only used a few terms. It's very easy to pick up the point. Okay, and exactly the same idea with the next slide. Another slide that was interesting was this slide here. So if I have a look at the original, Okay, so this was the original slide, subject goals and learning outcomes. So it's not very clear by looking at this slide exactly what it's talking about. I can see the terms outcomes, activities, assessment, but I'm not really sure what that looks like. So this is the redesigned version. So when we're talking about subject goals, we're really talking about student outcomes. So there's a clip art picture here of a student, which adds an element to the slide. And you can also see I've used some accent colors. I've used a mauve color, which really grabs the eye. Okay, so the first thing you see is the three main learning objectives and goals, which is the outcomes, activities, assessment. The student happens to be pointing to the main topic of the slide. So there's a visual point to this slide. There's a hierarchy of where the eye goes. So free pick's a great place to go. Searching for university student, looking for photos. Okay, so I've got some photos here that look great. Might decide I want to go to that photo there. So if I'm going to recreate that slide, I've got my female character. Subject goals and learning outcomes is my heading. I can actually align the text to the right, which I think looks a little bit more interesting. Okay, and then I need to work out what the content's going to be. I copy and paste it. Keep the text only. Realize the background picture is not right, so I can actually go to format background. Choose the top picture. Okay, now the main headings there, I want those to be in the mauve color. So once I've actually selected it once, PowerPoint actually selects that color, so I can use it as many times as I need to. And I can also come back to it because it'll be listed in my recent colors list. Okay, so what I want to teach, that's the main idea. How do I teach it? Another point. How to measure it. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit better. Now, these are the minor points, so I want to indent those. So if you come over here and you click on decrease list level, you can actually change those dot points so that they're indented. Okay, already it's starting to look like my previous slide. I'll have to move that over. So what you can actually do is you can actually remove the background. So if I double click on this female character, you can see that there's all these different options that come up for the picture. On the far left, there's this option here called remove background. If I click on that, you can see it's created this horrible pink color. The pink color is basically what's not going to show through. So if I make this a bit bigger, you can see that everything that's pink there is not going to show through, and everything that's it's still in a photo shape is actually going to show through. And then when I come over here, I can actually click keep changes, and it's actually removed the background. To add the drop shadow, you just click on the character. There's a menu at the top here which is called picture effects. I'm looking for shadow. I'm actually going to go down to shadow options, which is just off the screen. Okay, and you can actually start with a preset, so I usually start with that preset there. And so you can see that there's a bit of a drop shadow there, but it doesn't quite look great. To have the blurred effect, I call it the Apple effect, because if you've been to Apple's website, you know what I'm talking about. They use drop shadows on all of the elements. Basically, the trick to that is to really increase the amount of blurring. So you can see as I'm increasing the blurring, you're ending up with a nice soft background. So I usually put it about 20, 25, and then the transparency, I usually drop that down or up to, just depending on what kind of effect I'm going for. And you can actually reduce the distance as well, or increase the distance just depending on what effect you're going for. And you move that around till you get to a point where you're happy with it. So something like that looks reasonably good. So you've got a lot of control over that. The point of adding a very subtle drop shadow is that it just makes the images pop off the page a lot better. Easily copy that and paste it. If instead of doing it that way, if I actually use the shortcut keys, which is Control V, it will actually paste it in the same place. Okay, so now it's just a matter of moving the elements around. I might decide to increase the size of those elements a little. Okay, now I've got much more consistent looking slide, which is easy to see what the main points are. There's the graphic there which supports how the PowerPoint's looking. So I'm hoping that some of these tips have been useful and give you a bit of a feel for some of the different possibilities within PowerPoint. There's so much more I could talk about with regards to PowerPoint, but probably the main takeaways are use a color scheme, use smart art where possible. There's lots of different ways you can use smart art. Please experiment with it and choose some graphics which reflect and support what your main theme is or your main idea of each slide. And definitely consider reducing text down. So this slide here is definitely too text heavy. My redesigned slide, for example, has much less text. The less text you provide on the slide, the more likely it is that a student will be listening to what you have to say rather than trying to digest what's on a slide and listen to what you say.